संस्कृता वाणी अक्षरा.
Every era, every myth, every story has always conceptualized a ruler mighty strong and courageous, who is all-powerful yet benevolent, who is fearsome yet the protector, and who is the greatest of all. The Rigveda too reckons such a deity, the one described as the emperor of the world, he who governs the natural order. He knows every happening in the world. Nothing is hidden from him. He punishes the wrong and also has the power to release men from their sins. He is the one whose ordains are followed by all the men and the deities as well. He supports the earth and the heaven and is called as the upholder of the physical as well as the moral order. He is Varuna. In the later texts that we know, Varuna is described only as the god of oceans. He is said to reside in the waters and control the aquatic world. However, the Rigveda describes Varuna as a very powerful deity. He is mentioned alongside with the most prominent deity of the Rigveda, that is Indra. Even though there are only a dozen of suktas dedicated to this deity, Varuna is described with an exalted character. His abode is situated in the heaven and is golden. He wears royal golden mantle and shining robes. His seat is described as great and lofty, and his house is so huge that it has 1,000 doors. He sits in his mansion and observes the whole world. He is said to be the Samrat, the sovereign king. Tvam Vishvesham Varunasi Raja. That is, O Varuna, you are the king of all, is the praise addressed to him. He governs everything that exists, the whole world, both the men as well as the deities. He understands every minute detail occurring in the world. How? Because the sun is described to be his eye. Varuna watches the entire world through the sun. It is also stated that the sun goes to the abode of Varuna and reports all the deeds of the men. Apart from this, Varuna also has wise and faithful spies. These are called Sparsha. These spies observe every detail on the earth and convey it to Varuna. And hence it is said, Satyanrute avapashyan jananam. That is, Varuna witnesses every right and wrong of the mankind. As said earlier, Varuna governs the moral law, and on knowing the moral wrongs, he ties up the wrongdoers with his pashas or ropes. Thus, almost every sukta addressed to Varuna contains apologies for the sins committed. These sins can be of any sort, committed knowingly as well as unknowingly, physically or mentally, by oneself or even by the forefathers. And for all these, Varuna has the power to punish them. But just as Varuna punishes the sins, he also has the power to free the men from their sins, and therefore he is praised to seek forgiveness. He is also termed as Rutasya Gopa, just as Agni. As seen in the earlier episode, Rutasya Gopa is the protector of the natural order. But to understand this, let us first understand what exactly is the concept of Ruta. Ruta is derived from the Sanskrit root ru, which means to move or rotate. It implies the cyclical movement of the occurrings in the nature. The Vedic man lived his life in deep proximity of nature. With his minute observations, he noticed that the nature functions in a peculiar order. The sun rises at a specific time and direction and sets accordingly. The night falls after the sun is gone and goes away when the dawn comes. The seasons too follow an order and continue in a cyclical manner. The rains as well have a particular pattern. After the showers of the rain, the earth blooms. The plants give fruits and the fruits give the seed, which again gives birth to a new plant. These organized patterns fascinated the man. He realized that the nature had an amazing management, and he also knew that all this affected his life, directly or indirectly, and hence he paid his gratitude to these sequential organized patterns of the nature. He praised it, terming it as Ruta. Man speculated the presence of power regulating this, and with this thought he praised Varuna as Rutasya Gopa. Along with Varuna and Agni, Adityas and Soma are also said to be the protectors of Ruta. On this, the next thought that comes in mind: how exactly does Varuna maintain this natural order? Various attributes are assigned to Varuna. He holds the heaven and the earth apart so that the living beings can survive on the earth. It was believed that earlier the heaven and the earth were joined together, and hence the living beings did not have space to flourish. Hence, Varuna separated the two and holds them apart for the betterment of the world. This separation of heaven and the earth is credited to the other deities like Indra as well. And so by doing this, Varuna is said to have created space for the sun to move in the sky. Also, due to the ordinances of Varuna, the moon shines in the night. Similarly, the stars are placed high in the sky, which are seen at the night and disappear in the day. He is also said to be the bestower of the rains. He regulates the waters and causes the rivers to flow towards the ocean. He knows the 12 months and regulates them. Varuna is also believed to have placed the fire element in the water and the sun in the sky. It is described that Varuna stands in the air and measures the earth with the sun as his measuring unit. A specific adjective used in the Rigveda for various deities, including Varuna, is Asura. However, the meaning of Asura in Rigveda is different from the popularly known meaning, that is demon. Here it means powerful. Asum Rati iti Asuraha. Asu is power, and the one who possesses the power is described as Asura. So, this adjective is also used for Varuna, indicating his strength and power. Thus, he is also prayed and requested to destroy all the enemies. Varuna is many a times conjointly prayed along with Mitra. Many suktas are dedicated to this pair. Hence, they are termed as Yugma Devata or dual deities, that is, the pair of deities which is many a times invoked together. Mitra and Varuna are together called as Raja and the moral governors. They both rule over the whole world and are the guardians of the world. However, we cannot find many myths or stories related to Varuna as opposed to Indra. Indra, being the most popular deity in the Rigvedic times, has many stories linked to him. Also, in contrast to the abstract description of Varuna, Indra's description can be seen as much personified and relatable to the man. And so, Indra's popularity subtly affected that of Varuna. And gradually, Varuna's importance shifted from being an emperor to being the king of only aquatic worlds. Atharva Veda describes Varuna as the king of water and rains, and his golden mansion is described to be inside the sea. And this continued until the Puranas, wherein the significance of Varuna is limited only to the waters. A similar transition of Indra can be seen from the Rigveda to the Puranas. Every era demands for new necessities, and as the necessities of the man change, so does his deities. In the Rigvedic times, the popularity of Indra was unmatched to any other. Almost a quarter of the Rigveda is dedicated only to the Indra Suktas. This highlights the deity's prominence. But why was Indra so popular? And how is the Rigvedic Indra different from the Indra known to us? To find out, keep watching Abhidnya Vedanam, a project by Team Aksharaa.